technology. There are different ways and depend on use cases. So the cookbook has been built by academics and pharma company data professionals, including research infrastructure like Elixir that operates in the life sciences. And like already said, it's mature to be already sustained by research infrastructure, although it's public and open to everybody, and it's already recommended by funders, which also, shows the maturity and evolution, the impact of this resource. So this is something, before I go and explain what it is, it's something you can either use as is, use as adopt as a training material, use as training material, or contribute to it, because it's open to contribution from people with expertise in the area. So you already heard from Martin and other colleagues in industry that FAIR is a driver of digital transformation within companies, especially in the pharma, who have adopted FAIR from the very beginning. This is an example of a paper that really shows how they want to use it to drive also the use of AI and obviously machine learning prediction. And it's important for company to understand the capability that an organization need to reach, the skilled organization need to have, as well as the processes, and change the culture within an organization to reach FAIR data. Somehow this motivation, coupled by the fact that out there is a lot of guidance about implementing FAIR, yet this guidance tend to be very generic, sometimes very high level, sometimes cross-disciplinary. But obviously we need something that shows how in the life sciences, with different data types, in different scenario, we can truly make FAIR data. So we need something more specific. We need something that somehow both endorsed by larger group. It's not one person view, it's the view of communities, and helps organization to build that capacity, internal capacity, to make sure that FAIR data can be actually achieved. So before showing what kind of recipe we cover, just want to show you the fact that the recipe are very hands-on, guidance. And this is just an anatomy of recipe that shows that there are objectives, there are different ingredients that the recipe provides. There are step-by-step. Sometimes there is actionable code. Sometimes there is a conclusion. There is also linked to reference material and to other resources. So Martin mentioned already the Pistoia FAIR Toolkit. So we have a collaboration with the Pistoia Alliance, and we refer each other content because it's a different level of depth and granularity. So the recipe are really hands-on, and are really hands-on guidance. They actually are focused on both the technological aspect as well as giving a practical example of implementing FAIR data, as well as focusing on the different components of FAIR, on the discoverability, the accessibility, the reusability and interoperability. So they are divided in different ways to help really the different data, the FAIR data journey, because if each FAIR data journey is different. And we want to also make sure that we show the challenges that are needed as well as the skill, as I said earlier. In terms of content coverage, currently it's really very focused on preclinical cliniconomics, because it was started within one of these European projects, a private public partnership, and we use data set that were available and of interest to the community who contributed to building it. But it's not limited to it. There are recipes that are generic as well as can be used by group in other fields and can be extended. So the idea is that you go into a resource like the FAIR Cookbook knowing what you are looking for. Are you looking to improve in the visibility? And there are a certain number of recipes that helps that. Or you are looking for semantic integration, and therefore there will be recipe on how to choose the right ontology, lookup services, as well as installing it, as well as how select the terminology, which one is appropriate, and so on and so forth, as well as having, like I said, example of a data set, which is then verified throughout. If you don't know how to verify your data set, you don't know what your FAIR journey, we also provide with a very generic recipe that's showing a typical verification framework, the different steps you need to be aware of, bear in mind, and perform to make your data set FAIR. When it comes to credit setability, so we want to make sure that, first of all, the resource itself is fair, and it is. This is just a Jupyter notebook, the stored information in GitHub, and there is a technology stack which is all open source. We want to make sure that when people contribute content, they write a recipe, that recipe is citable in itself. So we are using PIDs, of course, but we also make sure that we credit the person that is the author of the recipe as well as the individuals that helps in reviewing it and editing it, because behind the cookbook there is an editorial group which somehow strategize on the content, review the submissions, and make sure there is a consistent building and growth of the content. If you want to go and see what the content is, as you go in the landing page, you will find a widget that helps you in searching it according to different feature and different area you are interested. But what I want to highlight, it's the importance of the maturity level and the indicator. Now, I'm not talking about the indicator that Roman presented earlier about, how to that help you measuring the data FAIR. These are really more indicator of maturity. How mature is your FAIR journey? How far are you into making your data discoverable or accessible? And that's what exactly we have tagged the recipe with. It's a maturity level for the recipe themselves, because you need more than one recipe to build your FAIR journey. And this is very important because, like I say, our earlier goal was to make sure that organization could grow the capability in-house to improve FAIR data. And obviously you need to balance, the level of technology you're going to use. It has to be a trade-off between the work that takes, the skill that takes, the time that takes to reach that level. And somehow I want to use the ontology example, given that ontology is the topic here. Obviously, there are different levels of ontology used within an organization. You can use the ontology, you can use your internal ontology, you can use community ontology, which are shared by other people. You can have internal services that map your ontology with the community one, and then you can have more elaborate resources like term suggestion, automatic annotation. So obviously, going up in this FAIR journey, you will have more technology to implement. That means more capability, but then also more investment, more cost. And this is the trade-off that an organization need to find, because there is no scale that need to be met. It's really up to your needs. And what the cookbook does then helps the organization by providing recipe that help move them in this scale somehow. Okay, I want to finish just with one more slide for the cookbook and then move into the other resource. We have evaluated, of course, the cookbook. So we have built the resource. The resource has already been used and adopted, but we also evaluating their use has been useful, has been valuable. And during this private public partnership project, which has now ended, we have used the cookbook as part of educational material in a training program. It's a fellow program that was part of this project called FAIR Plus, by the way, which, like I say, it's ended. And we